My name is William, and if there was one woman in England who turned love into danger, theatre and power all at once, it was Elizabeth. She was called the Virgin Queen, yet the man who stood nearest her heart may have changed the course of her life more than any crown, council, or war. Picture the court at Whitehall after dark. Wax runs down tall candles, silk rustles past tapestries, a lute sounds in another room, a door opens then closes. A servant lowers his eyes. At the center of it all is the Queen, brilliant, alert, impossible to own, and beside her, again and again, Robert Dudley. Most people know the grand image: red hair, pearls, stiff gowns, a face made into a symbol. But the truth is warmer and more dangerous. Elizabeth was not born into safety. She grew up in a world where love could cost a head. Her mother was gone before she could know her. Her father's favor was a storm that changed without warning. Even as a girl, she learned that desire and survival were never far apart. That is why her bond with Dudley matters so much. He was not just handsome, he was familiar. He knew her before the full weight of majesty closed around her. He could make her laugh. He could speak with ease where others performed fear. In a court built on rank, that kind of ease was rare. It can be more intimate than a kiss. The first thing to understand is this: Elizabeth did not have the freedom of an ordinary woman, or even of an ordinary queen. Marriage was policy. Her body was treaty ground. If she gave her hand, she might also hand England to a faction, a foreign prince, or a family too hungry for power. So every sign of affection became political at once. And here is the intriguing part most people miss. That made private feeling almost impossible to test. A queen could not simply fall in love and see where it led. She fell in love beneath watchful eyes, in rooms where every glance was counted, every visit noted, every gift remembered. Even tenderness had witnesses. Dudley rose fast in that world. He rode well, danced well, dressed well, and knew how to shine. But more than that, he knew how to remain near Elizabeth. He was often at her side. Ambassadors noticed it. Courtiers noticed it. Foreign courts heard of it. People began to ask the question no one could stop asking: would she marry him? Then came the shadow that changed everything. Dudley had a wife, Amy Robsart. Their marriage had grown distant, and when Amy died after a fall in suspicious circumstances, the court filled with whispers at once. Some believed it was tragic chance. Some believed darker things. Historians still debate the full truth. What matters is this: the death made any match between Elizabeth and Dudley far more dangerous. The full story behind this might surprise you, because Elizabeth does not seem to have turned cold to him after that. If anything, the closeness endured. That tells us something powerful. Whatever stood between them was not a passing flirtation. Yet she also knew that to marry him under that cloud could stain her crown, shake trust, and hand her enemies a weapon they would never stop using. So they entered a strange space between romance and renunciation. Dudley remained close, favored, and trusted. Elizabeth gave him honors, lands, and influence. She teased him, scolded him, relied on him, and kept him within the inner weather of her life. But she did not cross the last line. Or if she ever wished to, she refused herself. Imagine the emotional tension of that court: a dance in one chamber, state papers in another, the smell of rushes on the floor, velvet sleeves brushing candlelit tables, the Queen speaking sweetly to a foreign suitor for policy, then turning to Dudley with a look others were quick to notice. In that world, feeling never stayed still. It moved through masks, banter, delay, and display. People often say Elizabeth used courtship as a game. That is, too shallow. She used it as defense, delay, and sometimes, perhaps as the only safe form love could take. To promise nothing clearly, yet refuse no one too harshly, gave her room to breathe. But it also trapped her. A woman may rule a kingdom and still be unable to choose the man she wants. There is another layer to this story, and it begins before Dudley. As a young princess, Elizabeth had already learned how quickly a man's attention could turn into danger. In the house of Thomas Seymour, charm crossed lines that should have held firm. The scandal was stopped, but the lesson stayed. Warmth could be sweet. It could also ruin you. For a girl raised so near the axe, that kind of lesson does not fade. So when Dudley came close, she was not merely a woman stirred by affection. She was a ruler with memory. She knew the thrill of being seen. She also knew the price of being misread. That may explain why she kept so much in motion. A smile here, a sharp word there, a favor given, then withheld. She did not float on feeling. She managed it. Look at the world around her. Whitehall, Hampton Court, Richmond. Long galleries, jewel-bright gowns. The smell of wax, leather, rose water, and damp wool after rain. Falcons on the fist in the field, masks by torchlight. Notes passed in privy rooms. All of it made romance both vivid and unsafe. A queen could be admired in public, but true privacy was rare. Dudley himself was not simple. He could be charming, ambitious, loyal, vain, tender, and hungry all at once. That complexity matters. Elizabeth may have loved him, but she could also see the risks in him. He wanted place, power, and standing. In a lesser man, desire looks like romance. In a court man, it can also look like strategy. Perhaps she trusted him. Perhaps she trusted him only up to a point, yet the bond did not die. It changed shape as years passed. New faces came, new suitors appeared, new crises rose. Still Dudley remained one of the few men who could enter the Queen's presence with unusual ease. That alone tells its own story. Favor at that height was not an accident, it was a pattern. And yet he was still there, riding beside her on progress, speaking in the easy tone few dared use, turning up in the hunt, in the chamber, in the rhythm of her days. That kind of nearness can do more than grand vows. It can make a person part of your inner life. There is one detail I find especially moving. When Elizabeth was ill, Dudley's concern seems to have been real. When he was away, she missed him. When his fortunes shifted, her attention did not vanish. This was not the language of a cold ruler merely moving pieces on a board. It suggests attachment, habit, and emotional dependence woven tightly together. And yet she never married him. Why? Because she feared scandal. Because Amy's death poisoned the path. Because England came first. Because she knew that queens are judged more harshly than men. Because once she ceased to be a symbol above all factions, she risked becoming the wife of one ambitious favorite. Perhaps all of these are true. This is why the ending feels so sharp. Elizabeth kept the crown. Dudley kept a place near her. But the simple life neither could have was the one thing power could not buy. By the end, the romance that may have shaped her most is remembered through absences. No wedding, no open confession, no final certainty, only letters, reports, court gossip, and the long human ache left when power denies what the heart may want. That is why the story still grips us. It is not a neat love story. It is a love story cornered by rank. So what is the truth behind Queen Elizabeth's secret romance? Not that she lived without passion, and not that she surrendered to it, but that she carried desire like a live flame inside a palace made of dry wood. She learned to warm her hands by it without letting it consume the realm. If this made you see Elizabeth differently, tell me what you think below. Was Dudley the great love of her life, or the great risk she could never safely take? If you enjoyed this journey into hidden courtship and royal restraint, stay with me for more stories where power and longing meet behind closed doors, because the past so often keeps its deepest truths in the places where love must hide to survive.